foster care for about 4 or 5 years when I was a kid. I think I went in when I was 2 years old, and my mom came and got me and my brother out of foster care when I was around 6 or 7 years old. I think I was in the first or second grade. But I do remember, there's a vague memory that I have, even though I don't remember going into foster care because I was too young. But I do have a memory of me sitting on my daddy wheel. That's my foster father. I have a vague memory of me sitting on his lap, eating an apple, and I was happy. So that is my first heart smile. Really, Miss Charlie, that's my first memory in life. Like if people say, what is your first memory that you have that you can recount? That would be my first memory. My first memory is me sitting on my daddy Will's lap, eating an apple, and I'm just sitting there overjoyed, just eating that apple on his lap. So that would be my first what do you call it? Heart smile. I love that.
Because you can't see that. It's
yeah, my heart smile.
Because it's still, I could be in the midst of a mess and bring up a heart smile, and they'd be like, "What's your smiling about?" Because it's internal.
And it'll bring you out.
In there, yeah, man. Yes. What's in there, the abundance of the heart comes out. You can't even hide it. So, okay, let me tell you something, my brother. Like I mentioned, I was so concerned about you during the Breonna Taylor time. The police killed my brother back in the day.
Really?
And so it was like the whole system.
Tell me about it. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, we'll talk. And then I went to court, and the judge said it left a bad taste in his mouth. I'm thinking, you think so?
So what happened?
I guess so.
Tell me what happened and what year
my brother was on drugs at that time, and Mama was a nervous wreck because Ricky was doing, it's in Chablis, it's in the newspaper. Well, anyway, so Mama said, if I ever call the police on my son, they're gonna kill him. That's what she said. You hear me? She would always say that. And Mama said, if you don't do for your own, how can you? But this night in January, the coldest January, Ricky was really out of his mind, and Mama called the police. And so they were trying, Ricky was strong, man. You hear me? So they was trying to contain him. They stomped him to death while Mama was sitting in the back seat watching her baby die. They killed my brother. The neighbors all saw it. Everybody saw it. But back then, you weren't going to talk about it. That was in 86. So all the people, I went and talked. But by the time I'm like, I'm sued, they're going to pay. They killed my brother. They didn't have to stomp him with no clothes. They could have anything. They killed. And then the autopsy said his heart stopped. I said, no, stop, Sherlock. If you beat somebody to death, the heart will stop.
Yeah, right.
So this was like the system was on trial. But I went on, took it to court with Mama, and the judge listened and whatever. And then he said, well, I have to rule in favor of the county. Because then it was city county. He said, but it leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. And I'm like, So anyway, I'm like, they will kill you. Not all police are bad. So you out here running around everywhere. And I'm like, Lord, please, he had a praying grandmama. Don't let this boy die. Don't let somebody kill him. Don't let anybody hurt him. And Lord, please, I was pleading the blood of you. You hear me, boy? Because every time I turned on my device, there's Tony Taylor. And then they, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, help him, cover him. They're going to kill him.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my God. And then my grandkids, Dre baby's 29, grandkids out there with you somewhere. And I'm like, Lord, please don't let them take my grandson. They're gonna kill. And then I begin to get peace. And it's like, okay, the system's on trial. They're not gonna kill him. The system's on trial. And then when the system lost, I was shouting, not just for Breonna, but it's like, but anyway, so much good came from that, me watching you. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about with these young people is that HHN2L, because these kids before that, I finally went natural. You hear me? Because, we needed to get perms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Before these babies came out, I was patting, Joy kept saying, Mom, stop patting your hair down. But the perm gets your hair start falling out. So she said, Mom, stop patting your hair down.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you got to be uniform because that's what we had to be in the 70s. You can't be going out niggerish. Excuse my word. Yeah. You can't be looking at this is our party. So anyway, and I was like, okay. And then when I seen them kids on your thing and their hair is sticking up and doing everything and they talking the crown, and I don't know. I'm like,
yes, let it flow.
And I'm 67 and I'm still learning. And I'm like, okay, so you ain't got to pat it down. They ain't going to kill you. And then Tony's got all these young people. So tell me something about this nonprofit, because boy, you still feeding. We ain't too old to learn. And watching your fearlessness
Yes.
and
Well,
trusting God.
let me tell you where my growth came from, okay, when it comes to protesting, okay? So in the 90s, I think it was 93, because it was the year that I graduated from high school. I was still, I think I was 18 or 19 years old, Miss Charlene. And I went to the very first Million Man March, the very
Wow.
first one. And I don't know if you remember, but around that time in the 90s, you know, Afrocentrism was really bubbling. Like the Malcolm
Mhm.
X movie was out. We were learning more about the real Martin Luther King, not the fake one, not the I Have a Dream Martin Luther, right? But we talking about the real Martin Luther King that was really a radical and was really saying, we not waiting for what we want. We want our reparations and our check now. So I was really learning about revolution. And so I went to the very first Million Man March in Washington, D.C., and I was just inspired. And I just knew that a change was going to come, like a change for Black America was going to happen now. We were finally going to get our real civil rights. We was going to really get our real social justice. So when I left the Million Man March, I left thinking that when I came home, I would come home to a new revolution and Black people rising up for our rights. But as you and I know, it never happened. It never happened. And that was 1993. So fast forward to um, the pandemic, right? Because that happened first.
Yeah.
2020. I had lost my best friend in January of 2020, David Cleveland, that you knew.
Yes.
I lost him. So I was in a real deep depression that I really couldn't come out of. And then COVID was hitting. And then all of a sudden, we have this civil unrest a couple months later that started to happen. And then I started hearing stories about Breonna Taylor that happened in our own hometown. Yeah. And I remember this like it was yesterday. I remember that I had just started a new network called Wave TV. I had just started a new streaming platform called Wave TV. And we were just having a hard time really just trying to break into the market and get a foothold on our audience. And I remember I got a call from a friend of mine and he said, T-May, turn on your phone right now. They're downtown protesting. And I was like, really? Said they are protesting downtown. In downtown, you need to get down there. And I remember 2 weeks previous to that, I had a conversation with my friend about when was Louisville going to join the civil unrest and protests? Because you remember we wasn't the first ones. I think Minneapolis started it first over George Floyd. Then it went to Atlanta, and then other cities.
Trayvon, yeah,
Trayvon. Other cities start, but Louisville's kind of like one of the last cities to start protesting. When I finally saw that, I was like, oh, this is the moment that I was waiting for over 15, 20 years ago. The revolution is now. So, Miss Charlie, I had already been given the tools and been given the guidance and the know-how from God of what my purpose in the revolution would be. I already knew what I was there to do. So it was easy for me to transition and to be in that lane and in that purpose because God was using me. And I know a lot of people that I went to school with, a lot of people that I went to church with, a lot of people that know me, they were really scared for my life. I know you all were. I know there were many times yes. I put myself in harm's way. Even my wife would say, T, you don't need to be doing that. You need to, you are scaring me. But what I knew though, Miss Charlene, I knew that God had already prepared me and gave me the tools 20 years ago. I was just waiting. It was just like God's people waiting in the wilderness for 40 years, right? They knew the destination of where they were trying to go, but they knew that God had to build them up for that time. And that's what God was doing. And I realized in 1993, that's when God put the seed in me for protest and for change.
Yes.
He put the seed in me for that. But he had to mature me over the years to be ready for a moment like that in 2020. So when you saw me out there in those streets, when you saw me live streaming, when you saw me using my body, right? Using my body.
Yeah.
For social justice, using my phone, my lens as a camera. Oh, because in 1993, we didn't have these, Miss Charlene. And this tool right here is really what made our revolution effective in 2020. The fact that a young girl was able to hold her phone up to George Floyd and say, I'm going to show the world this man dying.
Yes.
Without this technology right here, there would not have been a revolution.
I know. I told you about my brother.
It woke America up. We couldn't have done that in 93. We didn't have this to wake America up in 90. We didn't have it. So we needed to see how God works. We needed this tool right here.
It's a setup, Tony Taylor. It's a setup.
It's a setup. Yeah.
Romans 8:28 is a setup.
Yes.
And while you was out there doing all that, Philippians 4:6-7 came to me that I could have peace. And I reminded myself of your grandmother. I said, she prayed. And Lord, you said the prayers of the righteous avail much. And it talked about make your requests known with thanksgiving. So I started thanking God when I remembered her, how she worked them in, how you came up. And I'm like, Lord, I got to have peace with this because they can't kill that baby out there in them streets.
No.
Because you had to do, and I had to trust God. And it's a setup.
Absolutely. And then another thing that I'll say too is that I truly believe that God wants you, and not that I want to be blessed with a long life, but I know God wants you to die in your purpose. You know, when you look at all the people who have lived great, I mean, Malcolm X died in his purpose. You know, Martin Luther King died in his purpose. John the Baptist died in his purpose. Jesus Christ went to the cross, died in his purpose. You know, so I'm not afraid to be in my purpose. And if I give my life for it, I know that's God's will. So I was never in fear for my life. Even there was a day where I thought I could have died 26 times. That was the day on Derby Day when the Angry Vikings invaded the square. And it was just like 50 of us to those 200, you know, white nationalists. I knew that I was putting myself in harm's way, but God didn't put the spirit of fear on me. He put the spirit of salvation on me and let me know that I need to use my tools to make sure that I saved a life that day. It wasn't about my life. It was about saving other lives.
And he set it up, Tony Taylor.
He set it up.
Praying for you.
Yeah.
He had you in position. And once we realized that he got this thing, and like you said, live out our purpose. And boy, before you tell me about the nonprofit, honey, after you was old and everything, and then that civilian review board, and then they try to tarnish your name.
Yes.
I'm like, they ticked at Tony Taylor. God, let's see how. And they are speaking truth on his truth. And it's like they thought they had him down. Now I'm watching from home and I'm praying and I'm saying, you know, my great grandmother, when she got her first TV, great grandmother way back, she would talk to the TV. She thought the Cowboys and the things was coming after. She had her stick. She said, you come here if you want to. She was talking to TV. So I was talking to the TV, to the machine things, and I'm like, y'all think, but God has set this boy up for such a time as this, and y'all trying to tarnish his name. This child's got a good name. You can't tarnish his name, but they try because you was on the TV being talked about. Boy, then you messed around, and I think you made it on that thing, didn't you?
I did. I sit on the civilian review board, accountability board right now. It's just wonderful. But when I think about that time, now I'll be honest with you, Miss Charlene, that was even more than the protests or anything I've been involved in my life. That was one of the lowest moments of my life. Yeah, that was one of the lowest moments of my life. I was scared. I was in fear. I felt like I was being misunderstood, but most of all, I felt like I wasn't being valued as a human. Like these white men, right? They were telling me that I had no right to have feelings and emotions about things that were happening to me and my people. To just be numb to it and just take it. Just don't have any emotions. You're not even human. You don't deserve to have a feeling about anything. That's basically what they were asking me because, again, it really, what I posted on Facebook about LMPD was really about that day at Injustice Square where those angry Vikings ascended upon us and me feeling abandoned by the people who are supposed to protect us, which is the LMPD. I was angry with them. And so so I made that post out of frustration, out of anger, out of fear, not even thinking that it would come back to haunt me even 6 months later. But when it did, right, I felt embarrassed too because Miss Charlene, you know me, you know my heart.
But the truth is the truth.
And they paint me as this monster that hates police. Like that's not who I am. That's not who I am. And I just that was just a dark moment because I had never ever had anybody to come for me and just really come for my character, who I was as a person, as a man, because that's something that I've always prided myself in, is that I'm a loving person. Anybody that knows Tony, anybody that knows me, they know I'm all about love, and they were really just characterizing me as somebody that I was not. So that was really, really hurtful. So that was like one of the darkest moments of my life, Miss Charlene. But you know what? God brought me out of it. He brought me through it. I am on the Civilian Review and Accountability Board, and I love it. I love serving my people and doing what? I'm a voice. I'm a voice. Again, I'm a voice for my people. That's what I am. So it's just, God, but I learned from that experience too, right? I learned that sometimes when you're guard your heart, for everything you do flows from in. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do, for everything you do. It flows from it.